Welcome back to our JavaScript tutorial series. In today's video, we're going to delve into two incredibly powerful features in JavaScript, the spread operator and the rest operator. These operators may look similar, but they serve different purposes and can greatly simplify your code. Whether you're handling arrays, objects, or function arguments, understanding how to use these operators will make your JavaScript skills even more versatile. So let's jump right in and explore the spread and the rest operators in JavaScript. So as you can see here, I've already defined two arrays and two objects so we can use them in our code. So first, let's see how we can make a copy of an array. So let's define an array here, and if I wanted to make a copy, let's say of array 1, I could just have an empty array and use three dots followed by the variable, which is array 1 in this case. Now if I console log array, as you can see here, we got back our array in the console, so it has the same items as the array one. So this is how we can make a copy of an array. Same thing with objects. We could also make copies of an object. So let's say I wanted to make a copy of this object array, object one. So I just define a variable called the object. It's going to be equal to curly brackets and then three dots followed by the object, so object 1. Now if I console log object, as you can see, we got back same items from the object 1. Alright, now let's see how we can merge two arrays into one array. So I'll just comment this out, and in here I will just add a comma and then three dots array 2. Alright, so this is going to spread the items of array 1 into this new array and also spread items of array 2 into this one array. Alright, now if I console log this, as you can see here, we got back our merged array. Right, so this is how we can merge two arrays into one array. And the same thing with objects. We could also merge two objects into one object. So let me comment out this, and in here just have to add a comma and three dots object 2, and if I save the file, as you can see, we got back our object here that has all the items from object 1 and object 2. So this is how we can use the spread operators with objects and arrays. Now let's make an example of how we can use it with functions. Alright, let's say I had a function that actually calculates the sum of, let's say, pass in a and b and returns the sum of a and b. Alright, what is wrong? Oh yeah, sorry for that. Yeah, so in here, if I console log the sum, right, of let's add c and also d. Alright, so in here a plus b plus c plus d. Alright, now in here, if I wanted, let's say, to calculate the sum of this array 1 over here, I would have to pass in every single item of that array using the index. So array 1, 0, array 1, and then 1, and go through all the four items. Alright, which is not practical, so that's why we could use the spread operator. So I could just use three dots array 1, and it would spread all the items from that array and pass it to this function sum. Now if I save the file, as you can see, we got back 10. Alright, so this is how we can use the spread operator with function arguments. Alright, now let me just remove this and this one, and now let's move on to the rest operator. Alright, now with the rest operator, let's say I had an object, right? So let's call it object 1, right? The one we have above. So let's say I only wanted to get, let's say, a and b, alright, in my object, and not this one. Alright, so I could just come here and type c, and if I console log c, it would be 3 in our case. Alright, but I want a and b to be in its own object, so I could just comma and then three dots, and I could just call it a rest. You could call it whatever you want. Alright, so in here, if I just came and saved the file, as you can see, we got back our object with only a and b. Alright, so this is how we can use the spread operator oh sorry, the rest operator with the objects, alright? And also we could do the same thing with arrays. Let's say I wanted to use array1, alright? Let's say I only wanted to get, for example, 4 and 3, or let's say 2, 3, and 4, alright, into its own array. So now just define, let's call it x, and if I console log x, it's going to be equal to the first item of the array, which is 1 in our case. Now, add the comma and then 3 dots, and just call it rest. Right, it's just a preference, I call it rest. You could call it whatever you want, alright? The variable name doesn't really matter. So just if I console log rest, as you can see, we get back an array with those 3 values, alright? And also if I only wanted to, let's say, have 3 and 4, I could just come here and add y and a comma, and if I save the file, as you can see, we get back 3 and 4 into its own array. And x is going to be equal 1 and y is going to be equal 2. And same thing, if we added another variable here, that variable is going to be equal to 3, and we're going to have an array with only this item, alright? So let's test it out. So if I add z, and if I save the file, as you can see, we got back an array with only this value. So this is how we can use the rest operator with objects and array. Now, let's see how we can use them with functions too. So let's create a function that actually calculates the sum, alright? And in here, I'll just use a and b, alright? So return a plus b, alright? If I go back here, console log, let's say sum of 1 and 2. And as you can see, we got back 3, which is correct. But now, let's say later in the code, I wanted to add the sum of 1, 2, and 4. I wanted to pass more arguments to my function, but it actually wouldn't work because these arguments that we're passing, we're not using them inside of our function. So is there a way we could solve this? Of course, this is where the rest operator comes in to play. Alright, so in here I could just remove a and b and use 3 dots, and I'll just call it numbers in this case. And for now, let's just return 0, and I want to console log numbers to see what it looks like. Now if I save the file, as you can see, the first console log, we got 1 and 2 in an array, and the second console log, we got back an array with all the arguments that we've passed. So this numbers is always going to be an array with the arguments that we pass. If we don't pass anything, it's going to be an empty array. Alright, so this is where we can use the rest operator, alright, to make our function more flexible. And now let me use the reduce function, alright, to calculate the sum. By the way, I have a full tutorial on how to use array methods like reduce. I'll just leave the link in the description. Make sure to check it out if you want to learn more about the reduce function. So let's call it sum current, and I'm going to return the sum plus current. Alright, now as you can see, let me comment out this over here, and as you can see, our function now is more flexible, right? And it doesn't matter how many arguments I pass, it's always going to calculate the sum. Alright, so it is actually working. So that's a wrap on the spread and rest operators in JavaScript. Today we learned how the spread operator can expand arrays and objects, and how the rest operator can gather multiple arguments into a single array. So these operators are essential tools for writing cleaner and more efficient code. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to give it a thumbs up, subscribe to our channel, and hit the bell icon to stay updated with our latest tutorials. If you have any questions or suggestions for future topics, leave them in the comments below, and hope you guys enjoyed it. See you on the next one.